I was born February 3rd, 1927, in New York City. Yeah. I think we were on Sullivan Street, but they moved out of the way to Leroy Street was the one I have some memories of, Leroy. And then we moved finally to 4648 Downey Street, and that's where we spent most of our time. We were there. We were on the 5th floor, the top floor, in the back. The apartment was really a 3-room apartment, and you had to share your toilet with your next door neighbor, which was in the hall. You each had a key, and you had to go out, And then finally, the neighbor themselves, they were a couple. They finally built their own toilet in their apartment. But isn't that amazing? That's how it used to be. You had to go out to the hall, go to the bathroom.
So what was it like growing up? What did you do as a kid?
Not much, although because we didn't have any money, when I used to have to go out and get bread, not bread, wood for our fire, little fire thing. So we were on Downey Street, and right behind us, the main street were a lot of wood manufacturers. And I used to go downstairs from the 5th floor with a brown bag, I used to go around the block, go to these people, and they got to know me, and they would let me do it. And they would give me scraps of wood that was left over. And then I would come back around and come up, put it in the box right by our little gas fire, what do you call it? Not gas fire.
Like a furnace.
Just a furnace, yeah. It was a black one, though, the black. And if we were lucky, you used to get coal once in a while.
Where did you get the coal from?
You have to buy it. We used to have to buy that. We used to go on Bleecker Street with a lot of push carts, and also they sold coal there. So
what did you do for fun when you were a kid?
I was lucky. We had a lot of children in my street, and we used to play ball right on the street. But then we were very fortunate, close to our Downey Street, there was a place, and it had a beautiful library. It had a gym, a running rack, and then there was a ball field behind it. And so we were lucky we had that ability to use that stuff. Yeah.
So what did you eat when you were growing up?
Oh, I guess almost everything, but a lot of pasta, because she didn't have much money. Very seldom you got meat. A lot of potatoes, vegetables, yeah. Friday night, every Friday, we used to get, my poor brother Caesar, there were 4 of us. There were 3 boys and a girl. I was the youngest. Caesar was the oldest. And he had to go out and work because they bring money home. My mother used to work too. She was a flower lady, make flowers. But Caesar had to go out to work, and he worked at a bakery, actual bakery, and bring money home. And every weekend, on Sunday, after he got through, half a day, he'd bring home, they'd give him a nice piece of pie or something to take home. And so we used to, and my mother used to go out when she had some money. This Bleecker Street was the street where they had all these little push carts. Every cart sold different kind of vegetables, food, and you go with a bag and you go down and you buy things. You try and get the better price because there's no price displayed. So yeah. Well, the first school I went to was PS 3. It wasn't bad. It was an all-boys school for a while, and then it converted And then I went to PS, I don't know, 15 or something, I can't recall now. But school was okay. The teachers were nice. And we used to respect the teachers, you know. Yeah. Because when I was brought up, it was all Italian in my family. But then I learned English, and they would help in that. Yeah.
So can you still speak any Italian?
Io parlo italiano poco, very little. I was never good at them. And when I went to school, I took first Italian because that was easy for me. And then later on, I was in junior high, I took Spanish. Yo hablo español. Io parlo italiano. You know, yeah. But I was never really good at languages. My brother, they were good, but I was very poor. Very poor.
So math was more your specialty?
Yeah, exactly. I used to love math. Yeah. Now, we used to go in the summertime. In New York City, there was a place called the Greenwich House. And it was run by a bunch of rich people. And it used to provide sports for children to play. And also, they would pay you, they would let you go to a resort. It was up in Poughkeepsie. You take the boat up or a bus up, and then it had a camp, different camp buildings, and it had a swimming pool, and it had a lot of activities, and that was nice. That was nice for the children. Yeah, my poor brothers had to work, and so did my mother. Yeah.
So did you work before you went into the service?
I actually did. I'm trying to think. I got a job somewhere. They were nice to me. It was a drugstore. It was like a drugstore. In those days, drugstores sold drugs and other things, you know. And the guy was very nice to me because he knew I was poor, and he would let me do all the cleaning and stuff, and I'd get money for that. That was my job. I used to get $2 a week or something like that. Yeah, and that was nice. That was good money.
So what did you spend your money on?
Oh, at that time you gave it to your mother. Yeah.
So that just helped with the household finances.
Yeah, it was exactly. Yeah, but the main money was my brother Caesar working at the bakery. Now I had another brother, Joey, who was the most sociable, the most best-liked. He was a wonderful person, really great. Goes through the war, you know, and all three of us in World War II, we were all gone. My Caesar, for the most, in the army, he served over in England, in Europe. Joey worked on an LST, making landings. And I went to Okinawa, you know. But that was it. And the only sad thing is, Joey was the best liked because he had the best personality, and then at work he was killed in an accident. Went all through the war, never got hurt. He came back and got this job at this place on the east. Manhattan Island was surrounded by rivers. There was the East River and the Hudson, and then there was the part of the Harlem River. And he was working on small little boats on the East River, delivering things, doing things. And all I know is when he died, they came to our apartment. I was the only one that was home at the time. I was still small. And they told me, and they were happy in a way, but my mother wasn't there yet. And they told me, and so I had to go out, and the first person I went and told was my sister, who at that time was married, living someplace else on John Street. And I had to tell her, and then she and her husband took over everything what was happening because I was too young, you know. But that was terrible.
So how old were you when you went into the service?
18. Well, just before you were supposed to be 18, I went in maybe a month before. Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why I joined the Navy, I was in a special program that I was going to be doing work, you know, not computers, but something like it, you know. But I wasn't very good, and I was so bad that they finally moved me over to someplace else. And before I knew it, I was shipped out to Okinawa, and that's where I spent 11 months.
Now, before you got there, the war ended, right?
I was there. I was aboard the ship. We were sailing. We were in the Pacific. I was going to be, believe it or not, I was in the Navy, but I was the land, like a CB.
Yep.
They gave me a carbine, and furnished, clothes. And we were going to be involved, believe it or not, in the landings at Japan. And we got as far as Guam, and we stayed there for a while. And then just before we were going to leave, the war came to an end. So I thought, oh boy, we're going to come home now. But the boat we were on still kept going, got us to Okinawa. I got off at Okinawa, and I was there for about a year. In a way, it was good for me, Mark, because of being in the service at that time, and that time, overseas, I got the GI Bill. So when I came back, that allowed me to go to school.
Where did you go to school?
There was Associated Colleges of upstate New York. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I started. And I ended up in Kentucky, University of Kentucky, in engineering.